wanting to drop it. So that's kind of what spearheaded collaborative energy.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome, you guys want to find the seats? Welcome.
Good job.
Thank you. This is lovely snowman when you work.
Right. So I am filling in for Caleb Tyler this morning. I think he enjoyed the game last night and asked me to step in this morning, so which was great. I mean, what an awesome place to live, man. We have so many awesome things happening. It's exciting here. Woo, big, right? My name is Brian Fitton. I'm actually the owner of Go Road, which is a video marketing agency, and a volunteer here for 1 Million Cups. I got to get out my notes here because, again, I haven't hosted this in a while. So 1 Million Cups is founded on the notion that communities can come together and solve problems over 1 million cups of coffee. Coffee is free. Thanks, Matthew, for picking it up this morning. So we got the B team here, but we're ready to roll. Got FR8relay, so take it away.
Perfect.
Well, hello everyone.
Morning.
Heck, all right. Everyone seems caffeinated. So I'm Ayush. I'm one of the co-founders at FR8relay. Before we get started, just a quick show of hands. How many people know about the inner workings of the trucking industry? Just a show of hands. Well, Tom, I don't know.
One question I can answer.
Great. So we are FR8relay. We are a tech startup based here in Bentonville. We work out of the WeWork space across the street. So what are we doing? We are trying to address one of the major issues facing the trucking industry. And since trucking industry is out of sight, it's out of mind for a lot of folks. So I wanted to take maybe just a couple of minutes explaining how or what the problem is, what we are doing. So in the trucking industry, a truck driver is mandated to drive only up to 11 hours in a day. What that means is that any time the driving distance or the driving time takes the driver more than 5 or 6 hours away from their home, that driver is not going to come back home the same day. And usually what happens is the driver would be gone for weeks and months at a time. So that's just how it is, structured. And when the driver has to rest roadside, the driver has to park the trailer so that equipment is sitting roadside while the driver is sleeping, and the cargo inside the equipment is also sitting roadside when the driver is sleeping. And those are just how the industry operates. Anyone who you talk to in the industry, they will say that's just how we have been doing things for decades now. So, is there a problem there? Yes. No one wants to stay, or people would like to sleep in their homes, not at gas stations. People would like to have access to good quality foods that is at their home that they can cook or have someone cook for them, but have access to that. And the most important thing, be close with their family. That is what a regular human being would want, except my family. So, and it's a very tough lifestyle. As a truck driver, you are spending a lot of time on the road. The quality of food is bad. Your health gets affected by it. Your emotional, mental, physical state is impacted regularly. And because of that, it's not a surprise that the younger population doesn't want to be a truck driver or get into that profession. The average demographic of a truck driver is an aging, older male, 52, 53 years of age, and it's heavily skewed towards male because of the traditional gender roles that women are or have across the country. So because of that, only 6% of women or drivers are women, compared to nationally about 50% of the workforce being women. So how are we changing this? What we are saying is our solution is not something that fixes everything in trucking, but it's a smart play on the lanes that have really heavy truck traffic. there's enough cargo that is moving in opposite directions that instead of each driver taking the trailer from origin all the way to destination, you can actually have multiple drivers pitch in so that in this particular example, the driver who is starting in Dallas drives up to Little Rock, meets the driver who is coming down from Nashville with a trailer that is coming down from New York. They meet, exchange, and then they Yep. Okay. Yeah. So meet here, exchange, and head back to their homes. Now, what does that do? That allows the drivers to get back to their homes and spend time with their family after they are done with their workday. That's what anyone would want. And it's this whole technology is not just for making the lives better for the drivers, but there is a solid financial case to it. Now, if your trailers are moving, they are making money. If your trailers are resting while the driver is resting, they are not making money. So through this model, your trailers are moving 24/7. Your trucks are moving 24/7 if you want them to. And for someone who is shipping perishable products like meats, produce, and medications, those produce and those products get to the end customer faster. They are not sitting roadside when the driver is supposed to be resting. So there are huge financial benefits to it, and at the moment, as everyone of us has seen in the past few months, everyone talking about labor shortage and supply chain. These are the issues. They don't just stem up from anywhere. The quality of life, the work-life balance for folks in the trucking industry is tough. No one wants to do that job, and that's one of the most essential pieces of our economy that we need. Everything that we wear, consume, everything travels on trucks. So that this is why we are so excited to be solving this problem, and we have had immense support from federal government, from state government, from private investors, from angel investors, from venture capital groups, because of the problem that we are addressing. Currently, we are working, and I'll get to that in a second. So how does it work? Of course, there is a lot of background in terms of mathematical optimization that goes into it. But I was trying to come up with a way to explain it in the simplest possible terms. And one of the things I saw in my 3 years old exercises was cut along a dotted line, which made sense to me. So what I did was I overlaid that idea of dotted lines and made this kind of illustration. So what we do is, what our algorithms do is they would connect with the back-end shipment or load database of a large trucking company. It would extract all that information, and it will kind of lay them out with the node locations and their actual length. And then it would compare them or try to combine them together to find the longest possible matches that are traveling in opposite directions. And then once you do that, then you take a scissor and cut it along the dotted lines. Now what you have is, instead of thinking of a shipment going from node 1 to node 4, from the operations perspective, that one long shipment is now broken into 5 segments, 3 longer segments and 2 local delivery, local pickup and local drop-off segments. What this does is it reduces the problem that we are trying to solve in getting the trucks back and the drivers back home. So instead of getting the drivers home from node 1 all the way to node 4 and then waiting for something to take the driver back, you are immediately matching this segment with this one here, and you're getting that driver back, and so on and so forth. And this is what the algorithm does. It would extract that, it will segment it out and match so that your empty shipments are minimized and your drivers getting home is maximized. That is the beauty of and the simplicity of this kind of algorithm. Relay is by no means a new thing. Relay has been around for a long, long time. Pony Express. Um, Everyone has heard it, right, Tom? And and that's what the idea comes from. But the application and the implementation part is where the patent is where the algorithms are. And what are we doing? Are we future facing? Yes. Right now, if you look at the electric vehicles in trucking, the range of the electric vehicles is limited by the battery size that they can carry, and of course, be profitable. And currently, the range is about 200, 250 miles. So, which fits perfectly in our relay model setting, which is 250 miles is about 5, 6 hours of driving time, and a driver can drive 11 hours in a day. So you drive 5 hours one way, drop off your fully depleted tractor, pick up a fully charged tractor, and come back home. And that way you can see eventual transition to electric fleets. This is, so like I was saying, with the support of federal, state, and private investors and VC, we have had a lot of data, access to a lot of data, a lot of good people who can run simulations for us. And this is one of those works that we are doing for US Department of Agriculture. And this kind of shows, or tries to show how the relay would work. And so say a truck is starting from Dallas, meets another truck in Tulsa, exchanges trailers and comes back, and so on and so forth. So you can see this is how the system would work. So what are the benefits of the system? So being here in Northwest Arkansas, we have had access to amazing amount of operational data from these large companies here. And what we were able to do is take their data, take our algorithms, and run their data through it. And what we saw was we had about 200,000 shipments, dedicated long-haul shipments that we got from this particular company. This was for, and like I was telling you, Tom, the other Tom, that in the data was from 2019 to 2020, which was a better data set compared to COVID-related data set. And what we saw was just on one single lane, we selected Chicago, New York lane, and just on one single lane, applying our algorithms, increased the profits from a negative 300,000, which is somewhere, to actually a positive of $500,000. So that's an 800,000 increase in just one lane. And if you try to project it, it goes into tens of millions of dollars in terms of savings just by changing how you are doing trucking. And along the way, this helps you retain and attract good drivers because you are actually getting them back home to their families. They can spend more time with their families. So, like I said, happier drivers is the core principle that we are building ourselves around. But it's not just that. While you can keep your workforce happy, you can also look at the money part. You can make more money. You can use your assets more efficiently. You can deliver your customer products faster. So think of, in terms of just the delivery time, right now, if you are following the news, you'll see that Amazon is setting up warehouses closer to major cities. Why are they doing that? To kind of, meet the demand in that city. And in a certain, in their 2-day or 1-day delivery windows. Using our model, you can actually have giant or much larger fulfillment centers, and you can actually reach across the country faster. So you can actually concentrate your manufacturing processes in one location. So, as you can see, we are advised by some amazing people here in Northwest Arkansas. Some is the key word there. So, so far, we started out in 2018 in Memphis, and we relocated to Northwest Arkansas in 2020, hoping to make the giant leap, but then COVID came, which was fun. So then we had to regroup, rethink what we do next. So luckily, we applied for US Department of Agriculture Small Business Grant. We got that. That was awesome. and that led us to do more of the work that we were doing, continuing our analysis of data. And this year, what we are hoping to do is, of course, apply for the phase 2 of the same grant, but most importantly, work on live pilots with at least 1 or 2 companies here in Northeast Arkansas. So that is our goal. That's what we're working towards, and we have immense support here in Northeast Arkansas. We are immensely grateful for that. So how can you help? Connecting with us, right? So everyone has a phone. Let's take those phones out right now. And you see there are 3 QR codes here. So, scan and like. Simple, right? That's all we ask. Apparently, this is what is needed these days. So here we are. With that, I'll open up for questions if there are any. I know what I said was a lot of information, and I can try to break it down or describe something in specific if needed. Yes, sir.
So you have a driver that's driving 5 miles to a particular node. Can you talk a little bit about where the transfer is and how that works at that particular node?
Yeah, so for transfers, we are looking at several options. One of the things is, of course, there are those public rest areas that are built along the interstates. Those are publicly available, and you can do exchanges there. Then there are gas stations which could provide a potential avenue where the exchanges can happen. And what we are, like the model we are going with initially, working under a big company, they already have their exchange or their node locations, which can be repurposed, a little portion of that for those exchanges. So there are several options that we're looking at. To another proposal, we are also trying to go out to the rural communities and actually see if we can build out a cooperative model of these hub locations where the community is part of running that center, where they are able to then set up like restaurants, support workshops like mechanics and things like that in that area, so that kind of revitalizes their community. But that's still a work in progress, so we'll see if that works out. Great question. Thank you. Yes.
Hey, question. So since you will be possibly catering to electric vehicles in the future, do you think those particular nodes will have electric charging stations?
So great question. That's what we are exploring with a Department of Energy grant, where, as you may or may not be aware, federal government passed an infrastructure bill last year. That bill specifically has money set aside for electrification of roadway infrastructure. That's about $64 billion in there. And what we are trying to see is if we are going out to these communities, rural communities along, say, I-49 or I-40, we are going to them and seeing if our model could be used by them to present as a template to the federal government to request some of those investment dollars to come in. And on top of that, we're working with a company in California called Watt EV, and what they are doing is very interesting. They have a model which is truck as a service, like you have in Ryder or Penske, where you go in, rent a truck, do whatever, and return it back. They have similar model, but it's purely electric trucks. So you can rent an electric truck, you can take it from one location, plug it at the other location, pick another truck, and do whatever. So we are trying to see, but because of the electric charging focus is a lot more in California than across the country. That's a dichotomy we need to work with. So we are exploring that and see if we can use some of the federal dollars directed towards the rural areas to build out our hub. So I don't know if that was a long-winded answer, but that's great.
What does like your pricing model look like? Or like do you think it'll look like flat fee based on how much it's used? What's your thoughts?
That's a great point. So in terms of pricing, we are exploring that still because we were talking briefly about the insurance issue. Because of the insurance issue, we can't liability insurance, because the way insurance works in the trucking industry is a company a trucking company would get an insurance, and then that insurance applies to all the vehicles and all the trucks within their umbrella. We were exploring doing a brokerage model where there are different trucking companies working together in tandem. But for that kind of model, we would require an insurance coverage which transfers, and that to like every time exchange happens, which is just not there. So that's why we are looking at a larger company right now, and trying to work under them so that we are able to deal with this.
Makes sense.
Yes, sir.
Did you all purchase the data for your model, or did you some type of exchange? How did that work? How did you get it?
It's an exchange. We just don't have the money to purchase data.
What type of exchange is the brief idea?
So it's basically, I would say, philanthropy from their end. Because we don't have anything of value to give them yet except our analysis results, which we did. So they provide us operational data. They're very helpful, in helping us model everything out. So that if anything comes out of it, they'll be the first ones to get it. Any other questions?
I have another. I'd love to hear a little bit about your SBIR process. Like, did you internally write those, or did you hire a grant writer?
Yeah, it's one word to describe it was paid.
Yeah.
So just being here, we have access to two great resources for SBIR. One is SBS, which is part of the Startup Turkey Foundation, Science Venture Studio, and they would actually, if you have an idea that they think will be able to get a successful SBIR, they will actually help you throughout the process, including helping you with writing it and providing you technical experts from the university for free. So that is supported by, I think, Walton Foundation, and that's a free resource that you have access to here. Other is ASPTDC. I think that's part of the university partner, and they are also a great resource for that. So they would help us. It took us about 3 months to prepare the one proposal, and that includes finding people to write letters of support and then getting those in, and then of course writing the sections, technical sections, commercialization sections, all those things as well. So there's of course a lot of guidance available if you need it. I don't know, does that answer?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, and that's Katie Thompson on our team at Startup Turkey. She's the one.
Yeah,
Not
she-
me and not Patty. Katie.
She's a powerful resource in that. And I think it's a great pot of money to have access to if you are doing something that is innovative and new and not just a business that is competing in other regular spaces. If you have something that is IP protected or patented, I think SBIR money is just there waiting for you to come in. So, and that's equity-free cash, which is amazing.
All right. Any other questions at all? Awesome. Round of applause.
I have my cards here if you guys wanna. I'm here after the presentation as well if you wanna chat, and of course I have cards if you guys wanna connect later.
So, I'm filling in, so I have to ask the question, right? Because I'll get in trouble if I didn't. But you've already provided links where hopefully everybody's connected with FR8relay, but what can we as a community do for you?
The main thing that we need right now is connections to the trucking community. So if you are connected, that would be awesome to get those connections in. Truck drivers, truck brokers, trucking carriers, shippers, anyone who you think has a truck, we would love to talk to them.
Awesome. Well, I have a few cousins in the industry, so.
There you go. Yeah, everyone has some here. That's
I know. All right. So, do we have any announcements? Startup Junkie team, do you guys have anything coming up that we can announce?
Next week. Speaker next week. Is it, we have one that got rescheduled because of the snow. Is that next week or is that?
Falling apart here without Caleb.
Yeah, I know.
It's good for him. Anything from the chamber while you guys look that up? Anything at all happening? Any other community events coming up? I know we've had several ribbon cuttings and stuff like that in the community, so make sure you guys subscribe. But Connect, having some other comments.
An announcement. That's right.
You do, yeah.
Yes, thank you. Boy, that's pretty slow this morning. I need a lot of coffee after.
Looking out for you,
I
James.
mean, I watched the game last night at home. I don't know why. That's right, the whiskey's cheaper. You may have seen in the news last week that we had our first ever virtual ribbon cutting because the ribbon cutting is in Colorado. It's a company called PAX8 who is hiring a community remote workers here, everything from entry to senior level software engineers, tech support, marketing, sales, other jobs. These roles range from salaries from about 50,000 to 160,000 plus. So if you go to the chamber website, check out some of these opportunities. There's a careers link from the top page, and you click on that, and we'll drop down to community careers, and you can check those out. But if you know anybody seeking those kinds of roles, we'd sure like to push them to them. There's a reason we're trying to help them hire a density of workers here. That's all I can say at this point. And we're going to try to help them out as quickly as we can. They don't have to be based here in Bentonville. We would like them to be based in Northwest Arkansas.
Awesome, thank you. Anything, Sarah Junkie? Okay.
And everybody who's here, if you're not followed, there's a 1 Million Cups Bentonville Facebook page. And if you'll follow that, Caleb posts out who the speaker. So I'm looking, I know Pushkin got moved to March 2nd, but I don't know who the speaker is next week. But he'll post out Friday or Monday. So just follow the 1 Million Cups Bentonville. It's bigger, like there's 5 in Dallas, 3 in Chicago. So pull up our Facebook. And that way you can see who's coming up each week. And watch it live if you're that get stuck in traffic or keep
Absolutely. And if you would like to speak, or if you know somebody that would like to speak, make sure you send them to the website to be able to apply there, because we would love to hear more from our community here. So, all right. Hey, thank you so much. You guys have a great week.
Thank you, guys.